Hi, Sam here with some quick important information before we head into episode 52, Rocky 3. The post-swirl section of this episode, i.e. the bit after we've watched the film, was plagued with all sorts of technical difficulties, gremlins, goblins, ghouls, all sorts of stuff. You'll hear us chatting about it a bit on the show, but the problems we thought were exclusively on Skype were also on the recordings as well. Long story short, Kevin's side of the conversation post-swirl might just sound a little bit weird, but it should be perfectly listenable. I managed to patch everything up with the backup recording that we always do, although that backup recording also had technical glitches and problems with it. I'll give you a quick example of what that sounds like.
Movie blooper.
Thankfully, both recordings seem to have their glitches and problems at different points. So what we have is a kind of patchwork of the original recording and the backup recording mixed together to try and smooth things over. For the most part, this works absolutely fine. You might notice a few little strange noises here and there, but you'll get a full idea of what was going on. I just wanted to warn you ahead of time that it's not quite up to our normal audio quality standards, but it's listenable and fine. Alright, with all that waffle out of the way, let's bloody get swirling, yeah?
Cinema Swirl! And would you give me back me feckin' shoe? It's episode number 52, and it's me, your old pal, Cowboy Kevin, saddling up and moseying along the dusty trail of Hollywood, California, looking at all the movies that are in the cinemas and on the posters and all that as well. Joined by my OTP, Sam Chaplin.
Hello!
Hey, how's things?
Alright, yeah, I'm okay.
Have you got sequelitis, huh?
Well, it looks like it, because the vote this time on Cinema Swirl was for sequels to films we've already covered on the thing.
Hot behind-the-scenes goss here.
Sure.
I don't just throw out hot behind-the-scenes goss, on the non-premium feed willy-nilly. But we had to actually yourselves decide to change the entrance in the vote before it went out, didn't we?
We did. So the choices were Back to the Future 3, Rocky 3, and Indiana Jones Temple of... The second one, yeah.
Indiana Jones and the second temple.
The second film. Ghostbusters 2 was going to be in there, but I pushed for Back to the Future being back in the fold.
Why did you push for Back to the Future? Is it because this franchise is like in your scopes as being one that you'll be polished off, and you thought, I'll be adding that to the old graveyard, huh?
Yeah, it was in my scope, so I wanted to polish it off and pop it in the graveyard. It felt like
it's one of those situations, wasn't it? Like,
I just thought it's one of those hanging threads that's like it was a trilogy that we haven't finished. I'm sure eventually, somewhere down the line, we'll come back to it.
Yeah, why don't we do a special underwhelming sequel swirl? We could do Alien 3, Back to the Future 3, Predator 2, and I'm going to have a really great time on Twitter this week. Yeah. So, Sam, the winner was Rocky by a margin considerable or otherwise?
Yeah, it was quite close at the top, but ultimately the winner was Rocky 3! Rocky 3! Rocky 3! Rocky 3! It's the third of the Rockies! It's the one we're gonna do today on the show that we're doing right now.
OTP! Rocky 3! Diddly D!
Yeah, Rocky 3 won. So congratulations to Rocky 3.
Refresh my memory and the audience as a surrogate through my ears of your experience with the Rocky movies.
Well, I enjoyed them because I gave Rocky 1 4.5 star wipes. Rocky 2, 4 star wipes. Are we heading towards a downward slope here? Is this going to get 3.5? Can I do halves? Is it going to get... I mean, who knows?
We're living in a post-half world now. We've decided that.
All right, okay. All right.
Was that decided? Or was that inconclusive? I thought it was decided.
Mate, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, is it?
Just a podcast.
I just, I know people take the ratings very seriously, Sam, and I don't want people to think that I don't, okay?
All right.
I don't want that slander.
So, rough summary. Rocky Balboa started out as a bum.
A bum?
A bum. Just an amateur boxer.
An amateur bum. He wasn't a professional bum or anything like that,
No. And he had his little mate Adrian, who was there as well, who he got on with. And big shot, Apollo Creed He's the big boxer at the time. He's like, was he the world champion? He was the world champion.
He was massive is what he was. He was the biggest boxer they'd ever seen, like.
And one of his opponents dropped out in the first one or something like that, and he needed to find a new opponent. Thought, we'll just get some schmuck, some bum, some do nothing, no good.
And then someone was like, wait a minute, did you say bum? Because I know a guy.
Yeah. And Rocky, the famous bum, steps up to the plate, goes one-on-one with him. Oh, also he's got a manager called Mickey, I think, and Adrian's brother, Paulie, is a bit of a knob.
Yeah, now, not to be confused now, that's that, because I know you said that someone's a Mickey and someone's a knob, but they're not, they're different, alright?
Mickey's not a knob.
Mickey's not a knob,
Paulie's a knob and a Mickey.
Yeah.
Paulie's a Mickey, Mickey's not a Mickey.
Paulie's a total Mickey, like, but if you say that Mickey's a cock, I'll straight up, like, I'll get that knob Paulie on you straight away for that kind of slander, alright?
So he goes one-on-one with Apollo, and it's a draw, or it's like a split decision at the end. He doesn't win, but he stuck it out for the whole 12 rounds or whatever it was.
Exactly. He basically had whatever, like an anti-bum buff, essentially, after that.
Yeah, he had an anti-bum buff. He was like, I did it for you, Adrian, I did it. And so Rocky 2, he's riding high on the fame from lasting 12 rounds with the world champion, right? And everyone's having to go at Apollo, being like, you didn't properly win, mate. A split decision. It's not proper. It's like KSI Logan Paul type situation where it's like, come on, mate, we're gonna have to.
Yeah, it's exactly like that, Sander. That's very good. You know.
So eventually, Apollo grants him a rematch. They have a rematch, right? And also, Adrian, his little mate, gets married to him.
Oh, he did. He did a big old marry on her, didn't he?
Got married. He's all like, oh, I've got loads of money. I'm going to buy watches and stupid jackets and stuff and do adverts. But he's really shit in the adverts. He can't act for love nor money. All he can do is box. He wants to retire.
Sounds like a bit of a bum to me, so if you...
He's got something up with his eye as well, I think. His eye was going to be in trouble if he got hit.
That was it. His eye was swollen, isn't it? Yeah.
But I'll be fine. I'll do adverts. And then the adverts don't work out. So he has to get back into boxing.
What it is, no, I've heard of this. It's the boxers get it. It's the cauliflower eye that they get.
He had cauliflower eye.
It's a very particular, special and bad type of eye that you don't want to have that.
Adrian, she was pregnant with Rocky's baby, Rocky Jr. Rocky Jr. was fine. Adrian fell into a coma. She woke up and was like, you know what, you can fight. Don't worry about your eye, mate. Go for it. And so he went for it. And he beat the world champ. He beat Apollo Crews fair and square. And now he's the world champion of fucking boxing.
And when he beat professional wrestler Apollo Crews, was that before or after he beat boxing world champion Apollo Crews?
Did I say Crews? Yeah. It's very difficult because it's obviously his wrestling character has been named in reference to Apollo Creed. Surely.
It's true.
Yeah. All right. He beats Apollo Creed, goes on a cruise to celebrate as well. He beats Apollo. He's like, Adrian, I did it. And he's happy and he's done it. And that's where we leave Rocky 2. He's on top of the fucking world. His eye's okay. Yeah, that's where we are with Rocky. He's the champ now. So where does he go from here? That's what I want to know.
Where would you think Rocky's going to go from there after where he was at in Rocky 2?
Well, I remember being a bit disappointed in Rocky 2 slightly that there wasn't a different final boss. We had Apollo Creed again.
And he had different coloured trunks on, or did he? No, he didn't even. No, he was still wearing the America trousers.
Same thing.
God, didn't even get a reskin or a new model or anything like that.
Exactly.
Same boring Carl Weathers from last year. Fucking hell, EA, come on.
I paid for this season pass, and this is the shit you're giving me? Come on, guys.
And you know what was ridiculous as well, Sam, is because Clubber Lang was already on the disc, and... and you had to just pay to download him to unlock him, and he was already on the disc.
It's ridiculous. It's a scam.
It is an absolute scam.
Now, I know that there are further opponents for Rocky just through cultural understanding. I think Mr. T is in one. It might be this one. I don't know.
Who are the other Rocky Rogues Gallery members that you know about?
I think there's a big, tall, blonde one.
Yeah. One of the all-time great villains of Rocky.
Okay. I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Do you know who's in this one?
No.
Really?
No,
Interesting.
No. I've deliberately tried to not, do any research into Rocky, so I don't know.
From your general understanding,
yeah.
I mean, do the Rocky movies chart a particular trajectory? I think we talked about this with a few of the big franchises where, like Jaws, it was known that if there's a number, there's a problem. But Rocky, do you know much about the general trajectory of the series in terms of quality and love and how they're ranked among the fans, I guess?
I don't actually know. Maybe there's a proper belter later on. I don't recall anyone just being like, oh, the later Rocky films are shit. But maybe they are. I don't know.
Interesting.
Rocky 1 and 2, I thought were similarly good.
Are you expecting a similar level of quality? I mean, it's Stallone back at the helm and all that, you know?
I'd hope so, yeah. You know.
Ooh, I'm really excited because you don't know.
Oh, is it not good?
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything.
Right.
I will say, I don't think this spoils anything too much.
Okay.
It is somewhat tonally different from especially the first Rocky movie, I would say.
Okay.
A little bit different. And I'm not sure if you can figure what direction we're going, but
I can't.
This is...
No.
I'm so excited.
Different tone.
Well, I'll tell you what, before we have a cup of tea and break out the Rocky bars, let's head into the mailbag.
Welcome to the mailbag, everyone. Thank you for joining us here in the mailbag.
Ooh, it's cozy in here. And if you at home are feeling the pinch this winter, just get lots of letters and, you know, use them as kind of like a jacket. It's very, very warm.
Or send them on in to cinemaswirl@gmail.com.
That's cinemaswirl@gmail.com, where, Sam, I had a legitimate, proper grassroots push to try and get some more email, you know, and less of this social stuff.
Oh, Grandpa Fuddy-Duddy over here wants emails in this day and age.
What I tried to do is I tried to send an email around, but I realised I didn't have anyone's email address. So what I did was to extol the virtues of email and try and claw back some of the ground that has been stolen.
You did a tweet.
By social. I did a tweet.
Yeah.
But it was a very unsuccessful tweet. It only got 2 likes. I don't think people realised what it was in reference to.
Right.
And therefore, I think it had the spirit of an email in that it had very little social activity. But it's still out there, you know, it's still out there.
All right. Well, given your views, you'll be glad to know that I've got a couple of questions here that have come in to cinemaswirl@gmail.com.
That's cinemaswirl@gmail.com. Sam, could you... I don't want to like mislead or anything like that. No, you obviously edit this bit out, but if you could just say, like, I mean, how many is there?
But I've got two email questions here.
Oh, I mean,
what?
Would you be, like, all right if you said brimming? Because, I mean, it feels like it's brimming.
I can say brimming. Do you want me to say brimming?
Say it's brimming? Is that all right? I mean...
Yeah.
I mean, 2 can be brimming, like, you know.
I mean, there's more than 2, but I've got 2 here.
You've got 2. There's more.
Selected
2. More than 2? Sorry, that is literally the criteria for brimming. So,
no, it's brimming.
Yeah, it's brimming. That's all right. We can just snip that out then. Sam, so you can snip that out. Sam, well, geez, you'd say this mailbag was almost brimming with...
Okay, I'll tell you what. Completely unprompted. The mailbag is chock full, brimming, full to the brim, full of emails. There's loads.
Wow.
Yeah. I've cherry picked 2 from the big pile, but that is not to say that it is not absolutely brimming.
Because obviously, Sam, there's a movie to be getting to here, and if we were to go, if we were to go. And if we were to go headfirst into the mailbag, and we were to go, you know,
well, we'd be here for days.
Yeah, if we were to go into the mailbag and, you know, go tit for tat. Fucking hell. If we were to go, you know, tit for tat, brim for bram, you know, we'd be here all day and all night. We'd be here all day and night, Sam, you know?
Yeah. So, with that in mind, our first message comes from Liam from Stoke-on-Trent. Liam writes, "Hello, gentlemen. Love the show. Thank you, Liam."
Get off Trent, Stoke. Come on.
Now, both of these emails that I'm going to read here relate to people who I would say are friends of the podcast, and you'll see what I mean in a second.
Interesting.
I was reading something online today relating to former England footballer Michael Owen.
Oh, this character.
Over recent years, it has become well known, we discussed this on the podcast a long time ago, that he has only seen 6 or 7 films in his entire life. Some of those were Rocky films, if I recall correctly. So as well as being English, he has also not seen any of them films. Is he trying to capitalise on Sam's popularity or steal all of his gimmicks? Protect the Pepsi and the lost references, Sam. Anyway, today I read that Michael Owen has also not had a cup of tea or coffee in his entire life.
Oh, just show off now.
Liam was wondering if there was anything considered ordinary that either of us have never experienced. Never been somewhere, seen something, eaten or drank something, etc. For instance, Liam has never eaten a banana. He's 31 years old.
What the fuck is wrong?
He feels like he's...
Sam, hang on. I've been telling you to vet these messages. I mean, you can't just be reading any old shite out on here now. Is he eating a banana, for Christ's sake?
He's saying that he feels he's actually made a commitment to this now, that this is sort of his brand in a way, and that there's no going back, because he's the guy who hasn't eaten bananas. But he says, sorry it's not move related, but much love from the Cinema Swirled. So Liam has caught on with Cinema Swirled, if you remember Cinema Swirled.
Oh, that's good.
So that's good.
That's good.
Has that redeemed him somewhat?
I'm glad we've included that now. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. So is there anything that is considered normal or commonplace that you've not experienced or you have no knowledge of? You're quite travelled.
I feel like I need a list of things.
Yeah,
because even the stuff that I don't particularly like, that normies have done.
You've at least tried it.
Like I've been to a couple of footy matches. Obviously, the beautiful game and all that. I've seen. I mean, mine's just kind of going to cultural things. Like I have seen music live. I have, been to an art gallery. I really don't know. I mean, a big one for me was musicals was a recent blind spot.
You've never seen a musical?
I had seen some, but again, I had seen some.
All right.
None? I don't know.
All right, I've got two for you from me.
Are these podcast quality levels of things you've not done?
Probably not, but maybe a bonus feature. Who knows?
Okay.
Number one, pot noodle. Never had one of those.
I kind of envy you in that respect.
Number two, crisp sandwich. Never had a crisp sandwich.
What are you... Oh, no.
The idea of a crisp sandwich texturally upsets me somewhat. I don't like the crispy and the butter and the bread.
Now you got to be careful, because I have cut myself on a crisp sandwich, right? Because you got a lot of shrapnel in the hole there. You got to be careful.
In fact, that's another thing. I wouldn't want a crisp to go in my mouth with me not knowing the shape of the crisp, or to go in blind and have the bread as a kind of mask for the crisps.
The crisp sandwich, Sam, has a firmer grip requirement than most. Because what you're going to do...
I don't want a sandwich with caveats, mate. That's what I don't want.
Caviar sandwich is very nice now. But when you're gripping a crisp sandwich, you're almost like feeling your... Because you have to use cheap white bread with it. If you use a fancy bread with a crust, you're screwed. You're not going to get through it.
Right.
But if you've kind of got a cheap bread, the kind of one that you can kind of feel around and make like a film almost out of with your fingers, you can feel around and feel the crisps, and that kind of like lays out almost like a tactile roadmap for the mouth when you're putting it in there. It's like, right, there's some corners, there's a big boy in there, and there's some little crispy boys with some big old bubbles in the mouth, But if you just kind of flop it to your mouth like an old ham sandwich or whatever, you're just going to get crisps on the floor. That's all that's going to happen.
This seems like too much of a risk for me. But, I mean, that's one of the big things that people have got upset about with me, that I haven't had a crisp sandwich.
I mean, I know you're not a risky individual, but I know you're a crispy individual. Sure. So I would, in that respect, think you should try one.
I like my crisps. I like my sandwiches. Never the twain shall meet, in my personal opinion.
But you've never had one, Sam.
No.
It's so special. It is such a special thing.
I can imagine what it's like, and I don't like it.
It's like one of Joe's birthday treats that she has. Like every year, she's like, right, crisp sandwich is one of the kind of it's one of the items on the birthday menu of things to do.
Are we talking just standard like Walker's level crisps, just like your thin standard potato?
Yeah, actually, in all honesty, a cheaper crisp is better. You want something that's got a strong flavour with it, and that is why I would casually submit that Walker's cheese and onion, while a very tasty crisp, but I've eaten many
not
of
strong
them,
enough.
Teo, the Irish crisp, which has that powdered essence on it of the type of real strongly identified. It's almost like Irishness.
I can't remember if we talked about me trying Tato, but then I tried the wrong Tato, and there were two
did. You
Tatos.
Tried fucking Protestant Tato.
I tried my best to join in and have some Tato, and then there's two Tatos.
That bootleg DUP, Mr. Tato.
A tale
fucking
of two
ridiculous.
Tatos. This is silly.
If he tried to get into Tato Park, they'd ring the police. Like, There's an imposter here. He's a separatist. I don't know what's going on.
So, thank you, Liam, for your question. Chris
Thanks,
Sandwiches is my one.
I tell you what, no, I will say follow-up question to that, because always up for self-improvement and introspection.
Sure.
If we could have any sort of a back and forth with the Cinema Swirl as to a list of like proper normal things, because I'm past 30, you're fast approaching 30.
Not that
I think
fast, but, you know.
like literally spiraling, careening almost.
Brimming. I'm brimming towards 30.
I'm brimming with my 30s right now, Sam, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So if we could actually catalogue a list, I think like seeing all the movies, eating a pot noodle, having a crisp sandwich, going to the footy, and an art gallery. Those are our 5 so far.
Okay.
If we have any sort of a proper list, and then we can actually see if you and I are complete individuals.
Yeah, sure. Send them on over to cinemaswirl@gmail.com or the socials, whatever. Just
No, because it's going to be too long, and you won't be able to. Oh, how am I going to format my list on Twitter? You won't. You won't.
All right, give us access to a Google Sheet, and then that'll be fine. All right. So, Jack in Milton Keynes writes, "Dearest Maplin, that's caught on as well. Nice.
Hey now.
Yeah, brilliant. Long-time listener and OTP patron. Thank you.
And I would also just say, even though you've used Mappin, we're not out of business.
No.
Patrons all right, actually.
We're in business. This is the business right now.
We are in the business. The business of making Sam see them films.
It's a fucking business, mate. Right.
Business is booming.
It's an update on one of our other faves from the podcast. I was wondering if you boys were aware of the exciting news from Echelon Leader, aka Citizen Leto.
Oh, sorry, he's got like a cult now, hasn't he?
Please Google Jared Leto cult. You won't regret it. I did sort of regret it. Seems he's the second coming of Jesus. Brackets, always Jesus, essentially the first coming of Jared.
Oh, no, I mean, well, he's through the looking glass there a bit.
Yeah. Now, Jack has a question, but if we can dive into Jared Leto starting a cult here.
Now, let's just say, Sam, now, this cult with Jared Leto involved, that's different from the cult of Leto, which is literally the aura that he would create of confusion.
Yeah. Sure,
you know,
yeah.
And mystique.
No.
You know, why did he send a bunch of dead fish heads to his cast members? It's the cult of Leto, mate.
Yeah, but this is different. This is a cult led by Leto.
This is a different thing, yeah.
Yeah, so he's in a band, 30 Seconds to Mars. They've had an away day or like a trip. You know how some bands do like cruises now and things like that?
What, like Chris Jericho?
Yeah, like Chris Jericho. Weezer did one. His is
no, they did that in Fortnite though. That's cheating. It wasn't real.
He's done an island retreat in Croatia.
Oh, right, to like his compound, is it?
Well, it feels like it because he's wearing like flowing white robes and he's got the long Christ-like hair.
Oh, right, is that it
all
now?
Of the fans are wearing white as well.
Well, Sam, in fairness, they're less fans, they're more of a family, I kind of feel like, at this point. You know?
I don't like it. They're all young women and they're all sat at his feet while he like stands there and chats about how great it is to be Jared Leto. It's very... Google it. Do Google it.
And then they all watch Suicide Squad. And you might be thinking, oh, what? And then, no, they watched the mega director's cut.
And it was brilliant.
It was massively long. And Zack Snyder was like giving the thumbs up and everything, high-fiving all around.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for the update, Jack. It is a bit... I mean, it's very creepy what he's doing.
Could we do that for like some Patreon content? One of us could join Jared's cult and kind of just, you know, see how it affects
do a little report. Send a postcard
a little
back.
report, like, you know?
Oh, so Jack's got a question here. If you boys were to start a cult, who or what would be its inspiration? He asked Gareth Southgate, Maximum Taste, Keep Up the Hard Work, Jack and Milton Keynes. So, I mean, we kind of have started a cult, and that cult is Cinema Swirl.
It's literally true. It is. You're right, though, because I don't know if you watched that thing on Netflix, the old Explained show.
No.
And it's a little series of documentaries, and they explain things. And one of the ones recently was about cults, and I watched it because like, I was very fortunate that my weird religion teacher in Catholic boarding school opted to teach us not really about Catholicism like he was meant to, but instead taught us about cults. But they made the point that, like, a cult as its current understanding and the current definition is amongst sociologists, that, like, most online communities fit the criteria to be a cult.
Oh, okay.
So you're not far off the mark.
Yeah. So welcome aboard. You're all members. Thank you for listening.
But we're one of them nice cults. Very nice cult.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with it, mate. Nice cult. All right?
Yeah. We wouldn't serve you Kool-Aid. Pepsi Max.
Oh, now I think about it.
Oh, now we are. That's bad, though. All right, obviously it's bad when your cult already has a strongly associated soft drink with it. That's... and look, Sam, it's not as if you and I have a vague bogeyman hate figure who we just kind of pin lots of problems. Oh no, Mark Kermode! No! Oh, it's all gone wrong and culty. We just wanted to watch some films.
So, Jack, that's the answer to the question. You're already in it. You're in the cult, mate.
Yeah, you might think you're in Milton Keynes, but you're in the cult.
Yeah. So, thank you very much for your questions into cinemaswirl@gmail.com. If you've got any questions, queries, comments, lists of things that are considered normal, send them on over to cinemaswirl@gmail.com.
That's cinemaswirl@gmail.com. Well, Sam, you've had a rundown of some Rocky. You've had a little bit of a think about what could lie ahead. What are the main emotions you're expecting to feel from Rocky using the other 2 points on your graph that you've already plotted, brackets Rocky, comma, Rocky 2?
Well, this is interesting because he starts at the top here. He's the champion now. He's not a bum. I mean, in Rocky 2, he was kind of near the top, but he wasn't right at the top. He's now at the top of the world. So I'm wondering whether this is his downfall, perhaps? Ooh. The fall of Rocky? We've had the rise of Rocky. Do we get the fall of Rocky? What do we get here? What's going on?
And if it falls, will a rolling Rocky gather no moss?
Is Apollo Creed going to be involved in any way? I would imagine so. He's kind of the big bad, but also he respected Rocky at the end of Rocky 2.
Do you think that's going to come into it?
What if they become mates? What's Adrian going to think?
I mean, Rocky, family life, how do you expect that to go for Rock?
I think he could be a fun, dorky dad. He could do some of his little jokes. Yeah, he's a funny guy, as you can tell from the jokes that he does. I'm hoping we'll get some more cracking lines from Rocky in this film.
So you want some Rocky jokes?
Yeah.
Are you expecting more, if I was to say more Rocky boxing, would you be like, yay? Or if I said less Rocky boxing, would you be like, yay? Is that a big, because that's a huge part for a lot of people, because it's a sports movie, obviously. A lot of people love the choreography and the fights. I don't know if you were as keen or if that was as important for you.
I mean, I reckon there's going to be some boxing in it, Kevin.
You reckon?
And I think the previous one, Rocky 2, I remember thinking the choreography and the cinematography of that final fight was great. I remember loving that. So it'd be interesting to see what directorial approaches they can take to filming a boxing match. What interesting stuff they can do with that. It's Sylvester Stallone at the helm, isn't it? He's directing this.
I believe he's directing it again, as far as I know, yeah.
So I'm curious to see what he does. I like watching a bit of boxing, I
think you're going to probably get a bit blown away by this, because this movie is a bit of a fucking force of nature in many respects, because it's got special...
Well, don't give everything away.
I'm not going to give away stuff, but there's lots of stuff that are really iconic to Rocky that I don't think you've necessarily predicted are going to happen in this.
We haven't heard, I don't believe, Eye of the Tiger yet.
Is that
the thing?
That's one of the things.
Okay, right.
But there's other things as well. We've kind of, in a way, alluded to some of it, in a sense, a whole other world, but we'll get into that. I'm really excited to watch this
world.
One. Boxing
glove punching you. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see how his career develops. He can't go any further up. So he can logically, he can either stay at the top or come down.
Wait until the Galactic Federation of Boxing hear about this. Rocky in space. Let's go to a cinema swirl. Ding, ding, ding. And we're back on the swirl. Took our time, now it's Sunday. Had some issues with the connections. I primarily blame Skype, and now it's swirl on a Sunday, which we've never done. I am in my pajamas, I have tea now. And the last known survivor stuck Pepsi in the night, and he's watching me now on the Skype. It's Sam Chaplin. Hey.
Hello. Hi. We've had some issues.
We've had some issues. Issues so long that I was able to write that definitely not improvised song. Went through a few iterations there during the week on that one. This has never happened in the history of Swirl before.
No, we've had to postpone recording due to technical difficulties. We've had technical difficulties post-recording.
Yeah, that's par for the course. Like,
we've had some fucked up recordings. We haven't had technical difficulties that have fucked up mid-recording and that we can tell.
We've had some fucked up recordings here on Swirl.
Shit's gone off the rails before, sure.
But it has never literally come to a stop, and then
we might have had to have a bus replacement service come and do this podcast, you know?
It was so strange, and here we are now. So this is interesting. This is pretty much like if Rocky 3 they had to stop filming because the boxing got too intense. They're like, all right, let's put the brakes on here a little bit because you're going too gung-ho. Sam, it has been a few days.
Yeah,
and a few nights.
I've had a while for this film to kind of sink in.
I like the idea as well that, you know, before, sometimes where we've had little delays or things like that, we've been like, right, we'll just no sell this and not address it. But we didn't even discuss beforehand whether or not we would mention this. But it's obviously so on both of our minds.
Yeah, I mean, it's played havoc with this episode of Cinema Swirl, but I think that's, you know, exciting for the listener, right? This is a change, something different. Whoa, a spanner's been thrown in the works.
Someone's going like, ugh, another Rocky episode, you know, rolling their eyes.
Oh, by the way, I think, you know when Vine was the thing?
Oh, I remember. I had time for Vine, let me tell you, Sam.
I regret not picking up an actual physical spanner and just lightly tossing it into a branch of the Works, the bookshop. And that being I imagine that would have, because I'd really thrown a spanner in the Works, you see, and that would have been my big viral
I just thought you were like, no, mate, I was going to do it. I was just going to go fucking throw spanners in the window and just fuck him, mate, fuck him.
No,
you know?
just lightly, just like, I've really thrown a spanner in the works there.
It's people like you who use Vine to promote wanton acts of vandalism. Artless vandalism, if I might say.
That's why Vine's gone.
It's why it's gone.
Yeah.
And it's artless vandalism, and not just that he is without heart, but also it has no artistic value as well.
Makes differ. Anyway, we watched Rocky 3.
We sure did. Do you remember how you felt right after watching this one? What were your initial gut reactions almost a week ago?
They were very positive. I felt good after watching this. I'd had a fun time watching Rocky 3, if I recall correctly, Your Honour.
To the best of my recollection. We start Rocky 3 at the end of Rocky 2, which meant that 2 minutes into this movie, I peaked emotionally.
So I think Rocky 2 did this as well. It did like a little...
What, Rocky 2 started with the end of Rocky 2? Because that would have been like... Hey, yo, spoilers for Rocky 2. Welcome to Rocky 2.
Yep, that's me. I guess you're wondering how I got it. No, Rocky 2 started with a bit of the end of Rocky 1, and Rocky 3 has started with a bit of the end of Rocky 2, and I think, you know, that's great in terms of giving me a little recap so that I can remember what happened, but also I feel a bit ripped off. You know?
He's buttressed it with a little bit of an old movie, like.
Yeah, just stick the end of the old one on there.
Well, no, we do that on Cinema Swirl. We could really pad out the episodes then, like, you know, but people might think it's a people think it's a premium product. They look down, they kind of go, ooh, a 2-hour review of Rocky 3, like, it's like, yeah, but there's 20 minutes of just talking about Rocky 2 at the start of it, like, you know, specifically the end of Rocky 2. Like.
Yeah. And we get Eye of the Tiger.
Eye of the Eye of the tiger. Eye of the tiger. Eye of the tiger. Eye of the tiger. It's a great song.
It's a great song. We get fireworks with the title in the fucking fireworks while Eye of the Tiger is playing. Yeah!
Now that was Eye of the Firework is what that was. That was a different song, I think.
And we get like a montage of Rocky continuing to win a bunch of fights. So he's making a big go of his career. He's defending his championship. He's the reigning, defending heavyweight champion of the world.
These are basically the movies that we should have really by rights gotten, like, because Rocky is quite a stressful affair at the best of times. And I, for one, could have done with, you know, 2 or 3 Rockies between Rocky 2 and Rocky 3, where he's just kind of really coasting with these hand-selected opponents.
just a whole movie where
Rocky
fine.
Get the big fight coming up. Yeah, no, I'm training real hard, Mick. Yeah, we got a great program, and we know we know we can do it, Rocky. And you've got the infrastructure, the support of all of your friends. And then he wins, and then it's like, yeah, Adrian. She's like, yeah, Obviously.
Yeah, he did it again, mate. And he's having a nice time with his wife and his family, his young child. He's doing endorsements, and that could be a whole movie.
It's because, remember when Whiskas did those ads for cat food where it's like, oh, this is just for cats, like, and they'd show this imagery they thought that just cats would like. See, I think these Rocky movies, Sam, could be part of a special, like, older dads movie collection where it's like just there really for a dad to have the environment to fall asleep to. And I think Rocky doing very well, and you can just kind of fall off and you wake up and he's still more or less going upwards. That would be, I think, very, very financially viable pursuit for both of us.
Yeah, it would have been good. A dad's only cut.
Mr. Stallone, you have our numbers and you have our contact info. Sam, this is how we get in that Warburton's money, you see, right? We make the connection with Stallone, and then we're fucking, we got Crumpet Bank.
Oh yes, Stallone did Warburton's, didn't he? And then also De Niro did Warburton.
He also did.
God, they're all doing Warburton.
But, you know Stallone had a crumpet. You know De Niro don't touch that shit, like, you know.
No. Yeah. Stallone would have got stuck in.
You know De Niro, that if it ain't a fresh bagel from DiMaggio's down on the west side of Hollywood, New York City, he wouldn't put that in his mouth.
The thing with all the lights of the venues showing up and kind of dissolving in and out really reminds me again of the Simpsons episode with Moe training Homer to be a boxer, that kind of thing. And there's little bits here and there that remind me of that episode still. I think that episode is a loving tribute to Rocky as a series up until the point.
I think Rocky 3 is mostly, it feels kind of parodied, or, you know, with that sequence, and also with the fact that, you know, the nature of the fight that he's having, it's much more like Rocky 3, I think, that Simpsons episode. It feels like it's taken most from there.
Yeah. And also, we get introduced to Mr. T. We get lots of slow zooms, or quite quick zooms, on Mr. T watching all of these matches that Rocky's having, that he's winning. So Rocky's getting famous, he's doing adverts. Mr. T, he's young, he's hungry, he's training, and these sequences are put side by side. You get Rocky just like doing a little advert, suddenly he's become good at being in adverts. I mean, the last film he was shit at being in adverts. Now,
no, American Express just have really low standards. They're like, yeah, whatever the fuck, like just point at it. Like, now, do you know what Mr. T's character is called?
Clubber Lang.
What a fucking name!
Great name,
Clubber Lang. And now, what do you know Mr. T from? Were you familiar with Mr. T as a cultural icon?
I pity the fool. He's been in the A-Team.
That's one of his catchphrases, like, Mr. T comes out, he's been in the A-Team. Oh, he
said it. He's been in Snickers adverts.
And what's he do in the Snickers adverts, do you remember? Because I love a Snickers. Like, Snickers, you don't need to advertise, I feel. It's like, obviously people are going to eat them, like.
Someone falls over and he's like, get up, fool, you ain't hurt, and then gives him a Snickers, because Snickers are masculine and like strong, I think.
Exactly.
Like a strong, manly Snickers.
And like when anyone says that you just need to talk to people, no, you should eat more Snickers until...
Have a Snickers, mate.
You know,
don't fall over.
Keep eating Snickers until there's no longer any pain, interior or exterior. Like, fill the fucking hole in your life with Snickers.
Yeah, exactly. Rocky goes on the Muppets in this montage, by the way, which is nice. Yeah. So while Rocky's on the Muppets, Mr. T.
Did you watch the A-Team as a matter of interest?
No,
you never watched the A-Team.
No. When was the A-Team on?
What? It was on all the time.
Is this pre or post A-Team?
Oh, this is pre A-Team.
Oh, so this is like the start of Mr. T.
This movie was I think if you were to look at like movies that influence a specific time in 80s culture, like of all the movies that we've looked at, this one has had such an impact, because Rocky 3 has got like connotations for Sylvester Stallone's career, obviously, but Mr. T, and also Hulk Hogan, and not just Hulk Hogan, but the World Wrestling Federation at the time, the first WrestleMania. It's huge, far-reaching effects into kind of sports is cool or sports entertainment kind of culture and whatnot. So yeah, a lot of that here. This is an important culture, even though it may not be as on the nose perhaps, or as reserved and as Oscar contendery as the first Rocky movie. It certainly resonates years and years and years. I mean, yeah, without Rocky 3 there would be no probably WrestleMania, there probably would be no A-Team and shit like that. It was just huge.
Clubber Lang challenges Rocky, and holy shit, Mr. T is good at shouting.
And he's there. Come here to me now. You know, come here. You've been. Come here. No, yeah. Come here. No, yeah. no, 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 no. Give us an old fight. And that's what he's all about.
Yeah,
like.
he says. And he's good at it. He can do it. Paulie, you remember Paulie?
I remember Paulie.
A bit of a drunk dipshit, and he continues that in earnest here.
But he also has a new hat alongside Adrian.
Yes, he's got a new hat. He stumbles drunk into an arcade. The arcade looks great, by the way.
Yeah, like
I like an 80s arcade.
The 80s arcade where you're not just got video games, you got some pinball in there, you got some claw machine action. It's a nighttime venture. I would love to be like, there are arcades around still, kind of curiosity pieces, and they're certainly not open late on a Saturday night, like with a nighttime crowd. It's like something that's in an industrial estate up a stairs, or I don't like that. I want to be able to go to the arcades, Sam. It sucks that it's not a thing.
I'm sorry. There's some of those like barcades, aren't there? They put a couple of cabinets in a bar, and then the grown-ups can remember when they were young.
See, I don't like. I think it should serve itself as an arcade, because I don't want an arcade and the intrinsicies.
Yeah, the intrinsicies.
The intrinsic nature of an arcade and the many things that can go wrong. I guarantee you dollars to donuts. You go into any barcade, there's going to be like 4 non-working arcade machines. But I bet they're all pulling pints fine.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's the thing, because that's where people and
so you wanted to focus solely on the
television on the game, Sam. Exactly.
Yeah. So Paulie goes in drunk into this arcade, and I thought, he's going to have a fun time at the arcade, but just a bit pissed. That sounds nice. But there's scary music in the background because he's in a bad mood. He drunkenly approaches the Rocky pinball machine and throws a beer at it. Whoa! Oh no, he's gone prison.
Now Rocky pinball looks like Rocky pooping, doesn't it? Did you see? He's like kind of
the face on him. Yeah.
And he already sounds like he's having an old poo anyway, Did you notice the difference between Rocky's Christmas and Clubber Lang's Christmas?
No, I didn't. What was the difference in the Christmases?
Well, Rocky had a fun Christmas, and he had lots of gifts and nice times with his friends and family. But Clubber Lang had punches for Christmas dinner. That was what he was having, just straight up punching.
Well, like a big bowl of punch with his family.
And then they're like, what do you want to do in the new year? What do you want to do with Rocky? He goes, I'm going to kill him, so I am. And that's what his plan is.
So Paulie, he gets bailed out by Rocky. He's grumpy that Rocky hasn't done anything for him, Paulie. He keeps referring to himself as Paulie. He's like, what about me, Paulie?
I'm poorly, Rocky. Can't you see how bad? I'm poorly. I'm not well. I've been in the wars. He has an old moan, Sam, doesn't he?
He does have a big moan. And one thing I wanted to ask you was he says something which I can't make head nor tail of. He says, I got feelings, this ain't cardboard. And when he's saying this ain't cardboard, he's holding up his tie. And I don't understand what that means. I got feelings, Oh,
I thought he was gesturing to his heart, saying, and the heart was kind of behind his tie. So
I thought he was holding up the tie to be like, I've not got one of those fancy cardboard ties.
I mean, I had cardboard in my tie, but what I did, Polly, was I just pulled it out. That was just actually a display because it was in a long box, and they didn't want the tie to go slack in the long display box, is what it was. Probably, yeah.
That's probably what it is. Bum gets used an insult by Rocky. He calls Paulie a bum.
Because he goes
back.
You said you bye. Are you no? Yes, lady bum. And he's very upset by that.
Fist fight ensues. I wouldn't challenge the world heavyweight boxing champion to a fist fight, but Paulie is an absolute mad lad.
In fairness, though, he's 1-0 against Rocky because he already fucked up the pinball machine. And if you have that good of a showing in the opener, you think I'll take his big mate, easily.
But then after the fight, he's like, "Oh, can I have a job?" Rocky says, "All you had to do was ask." And then he's got a job, so that's great.
love the little line where Paulie's trying to just basically prove that he has some worth. And honestly, it is kind of confusing to an extent. I think this is a problem with the later Rocky movies where stuff with Paulie like this just kind of happens, just so you're just kind of like, Paulie's still here and he's still a pain in Rocky's ass. And that's kind of it. It's not as if Paulie has a grander arc in this movie. No. He has a moan, he gets a job, he continues to moan. That's pretty much
nothing then happens.
That is Paulie's arc. No. Nothing really happens from it. But I do love when he's trying to point out that he has worth. And he's like, back when you were a bum, everyone was laughing at you, and I was making sure, that you were taken seriously. And he said, they were laughing at both of us, Paulie. And he goes, oh, no one laughed at me. Like, the idea that he was beyond ridicule because he's a very serious man, obviously,
A little scene with Rocky trying to serenade his wife or get her to sing along with him. I thought he was singing the Brooklyn Nine-Nine theme because he's like, "Come on, Adrian."
I don't like that show. Come on, Adrian. No, I don't like it. Come on, Adrian. It's a natural successor for the hole that's been left by Parks and Recreation in the U.S. office. Come on. No, it's not. It's not like, it's not as funny as you just make. No, Andy Samberg's annoying. No, stop. Yes, he's sexy. He doesn't make any. Stop.
So, Rocky, he's going to fight a wrestler.
He is. Rocky versus a racist at last.
Rocky v racist.
Do you ever think that Rocky would stand up to racism like this, in your viewings of the Rocky movies?
I imagine he would.
He'd spark out racism.
Yeah, I'd like to see Rocky fight racism.
I mean, here he is. He's literally fighting the physical embodiment, the avatar of racism, pretty much,
Yeah. I mean, Mickey doesn't think this is a good decision, his trainer Mickey.
Haven't you heard the things that he said? Did you hear his completely fake non-apology, Rock? You go in there, they're going to tear you apart online. They're going to rip you to shreds, Rock. The liberal consensus will destroy you.
I seen wrestlers that was bigger than dinosaurs. You ever fight a dinosaur? No, not lately. They can cause a variety of damage, is what Mickey says. Dinosaurs can cause a variety of damage. That is true.
Very, very true. There's obviously property damage. There's obviously emotional damage as well, because...
Yeah.
I mean, if you've seen them in Jurassic Park after them, I know people still keep asking, you have seen Jurassic Park? That will not be on the swell.
I've seen it, yeah.
I've seen it, unfortunately. Some blockbusters are simply too big to miss out on, No, I don't think our son will watch the dinosaurs come back to life today. I don't think. But if you've seen them in that now, awful emotional they would be after the encounters with the dinosaur, onto the verge of tears.
Yeah. And that's seldom taken into account.
It could be that the dinosaurs are so scary, like a velociraptor would be chasing you, you'd be like, aha! And then afterwards you have a big owl cry about that, because you're like, he was fucking chasing me, and he was, it was really high, he wouldn't stop. But then there's also the other type as well, where you kind of go, Jesus, look at that big fucking dinosaur, and then you... and then the fucking waterworks start like, look how fucking beautiful
it's so big.
It's so big, yeah. I have no perspective.
Now, a question for you, someone I see as a wrestling historian or knowledgeable about wrestling at the very least. Had Hulk Hogan been heel, brackets, bad guy, in wrestling at this point? Because he's playing a heel wrestler here. He's a bad guy. He's a naughty man.
He was, I believe at this time he was doing, I know when he first went into the World Wrestling Federation, he was the WWF, which is the one that Vince McMahon's dad owned. I know he played like the Incredible Hulk was what he was called. And he was, had the similar gimmick with the big robe where he would, pose like that, and he would make out that he was like this giant mountain of a god of a man. So he was a heel originally, and he would have wrestled against, I think, like Andre the Giant, when Andre the Giant was a good guy in like kind of, I don't know, I guess it would have been like late 70s, very early 80s. But him appearing in this movie was very much the thing that strapped like a rocket to him, because Hulk Hogan appearing in this movie he was in a company called the AWA around this time, and they didn't understand that a wrestler appearing in a big movie like this would naturally make them a bigger star, because that company was owned by a guy who was like, well, he's not a very good wrestler, so he won't be a big wrestling star. It doesn't matter that he's going to be in a big movie like this. So that's when he went kind of off to pursue it with Vince McMahon, and you had things
so
like...
he became Hulk Hogan and kind of got it.
This movie was basically like Hulk Hogan being introduced to the idea of commercial viability,
Right,
the company where he was working didn't want to sell t-shirts, and if they did, they didn't want to give him any money. So he wanted to make a lot of money and be a big star, and this was very much a vehicle for that. Yeah, Sylvester Stallone has an odd actual history with wrestling. He did a movie kind of about wrestling called Paradise Alley, and I don't know if you know of a wrestler called Terry Funk, but he did a whole bunch of stuff with Sylvester Stallone, including being the fight coordinator for Rocky V, which we will most definitely not be doing on this podcast. But on Patreon, you never know. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. We finally have a home for all the sequels,
Isn't it mad how Hulk Hogan's always looked fucking ancient? Like, even when, as a younger man, he still looks and feels old.
I think if you start balding from a young age, or you have that kind of old man face, that you like Stone Cold Steve Austin is someone as well, that once he was bald in his 30s or whatever, it's like, oh, he looks exactly the same now in his 50s that he did 20 years ago. It's because, well, once you opt into a very refined older look, it's like how I haven't aged in like 20 so years, because I've had, since I was 11, I've had this years.
Big beard, big hair.
It's an escape, Sam's what it is. It's escape from societal's aging standards.
So, Clubber Lang's there as well. Now, there's some fun camera stuff during this fight. They make Rocky look tiny by putting the camera way up high behind Hulk Hogan to make Rocky look really dinky, which feels very much like Gandalf and Frodo type situation.
Now, Stallone, I hear, is actually inky-dinky in real life. He's way shorter.
Is he inky-dinky?
I think he could be. I have it on some authority that he may, in fact, be wee. Let me just...
Wee Sly Stallone.
Now, obviously, we got to take... Oh, wow. Sam, guess Sylvester Stallone's height. Now, this is reported height, which, in fairness, if you're a Hollywood megastar, and I think we view him in our heads mentally as a tall man, obviously this is always going to be buffed up a little bit. I could only imagine, he wants an inflated height to be out there. But what height would you say Sylvester Stallone is in your mind?
I'm guessing it's sub 6 foot.
Yeah, you think?
I'm going to go for like a 5'8".
He's 5'10". According to the internet now, but I would say 5'8" is probably, I think 2 inches is the acceptable margin of error for lying about your height,
Alright, that's not, super short, is it?
In fairness, though, if I said to you, it's funny, Sam and I are both literal giants. This is why this is funny to us. When we're talking about little 5'10" Sylvester Stallone, we'd be fucking taking his lunch money, mate. What we'd be doing, Sam Chaplin and Kevin Mann of Cinema Swirl stuffing little inky dinks like Sylvester Stallone into lockers and stealing his meatball subs. But, were you shocked when I told him that he was a shorter guy, though? Do you think this had to be a lot of, trickery? Because Hogan is legitimately, a tall dude.
I guess I thought there was a bit more camera jiggery-pokery to make it look like there's a bigger height difference in the world. I think there still is that, even if there is a height difference. Yeah. It kind of exaggerates, he is really small compared to this big, massive wrestler.
Yeah.
But wrestlers are big, aren't they? They are big buggers.
Now, here's 2 wrestling names I can get behind. The Ultimate Male versus the Ultimate Meatball.
And he's getting tossed around like a meatball.
He is. Now, we all love a good tossed meatball, don't get me wrong. Sorry, I know he keeps appearing in this podcast, but another Waluigi spotting here, folks. And I hope you don't mind that I'm always on the lookout for Waluigis in these movies, because I think he's a very important cultural figure. And it's like kind of when you see there's a Triforce in it.
You're not telling me that Rocky 3 launched the career of Waluigi as well as Mr. T, as well as Hulk Hogan, as well as Sylvester Stallone.
I'm just saying, I think Waluigi is one of those kind of cultural relics. You'll see him before he was there, if you know what I mean. He was he was destined to be there. The ring announcer here has got a proper big fucking Waluigi eyebrow mustache on him. My God.
Now, Kevin, another question for you. In the fiction of Rocky 3, is wrestling real?
I think that it's meant to be that it's real with a bit of a wink, as in it's presented as real, the fans think it's real, but the professionals involved...
Right.
Because, Stallone obviously reckons that it's fake because he's like, well, when we go and just, give him a little show, have a Polaroid afterwards. And he's like, argh. And then he has the big fight. And after the fight, he says, oh, sorry, brother, I was just, I was in that headspace and that's where I went. That's why I was acting that way.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because a number of wrestlers, Steve Austin and Terry Funk, who we've mentioned already, those are wrestlers who have said, in interviews and whatnot, that when they wrestled, even though it was, fake or whatever, they got themselves into the mindset in their head that they were fighting for real. And that was you couldn't tell them that they weren't actually fighting. They method acted it, basically.
It's hard to tell whether this film is keeping kayfabe alive. I think it is.
Now, I will tell you for a fact that Hulk Hogan himself definitely did not perform in that manner that he thought he was fighting for real. If that was the case, his real-life fights would be very interesting indeed. But
Paulie whacked him with a chair and everything, so I'm like, what's going on here?
I think that Stallone is trying to be very respectful of this world of wrestling that he had been on the record as saying that he found fascinating at this point in time.
Right,
I think this is very much him trying to be like, wrestling's not what you think it is. The guys involved are super tough and it's super crazy and wild. You know, it's not as fake as you might think, type of thing.
And this ends in a draw, doesn't it, this fight? And eliciting boos. I mean, it's gone wild. The crowd are booing Hogan. Everything's kind of... The announcers are saying, this place is a zoo. It's turned into a zoo, which is quite insulting to zoos. They're not this badly run.
Now, did you enjoy this scene? Because, I mean, it's pretty fucking wild. I mean, you watch wrestling as well. You're a fan.
Yeah.
Were you surprised to see it? And as a wrestling fan, do you think that it was like it put over wrestling or got it across? Because oftentimes wrestling, if it shows up in a movie, it's like got to be done in a real hokey, incorrect. No, that's not what it's like type of a way.
I mean, yeah, no, Hogan does some of his wrestling moves, doesn't he? He does a big suplex. He does a leg drop. It's all quite authentic wrestling. So it's a bit of fun. It was nice to see him get whacked in the back with a chair by Paulie. Paulie with the run-in, using a foreign object. Great stuff.
I want there to be a real-life Paulie in wrestling. I think if I could insert one character from Rocky into wrestling, it would be Paulie.
That would be great. But no, it's a bit of fun.
Of course, the ensuing zoo madness is not without its consequences, because Tick's Micker is on the fritz. He's got a bum Micker. That's what's got in here, you know?
He has got a bum Micker. And Rocky himself, a big statue's revealed of Rocky. It's marching band playing the Rocky theme. Yeah. Again, the Rocky theme exists in the Rocky universe.
I'd like to thank the marching band for playing the theme from Rocky. And then, he just disappears because he's unveiled paradox in the universe.
That's a bit confusing because I'm like, is that music that's been specially commissioned for Rocky for his entrances? It's not the music from the film, but they're playing it because Rocky's... Anyway.
It's the only time... Wait, hang on a second here. Putting on the old film analysis hat here now, and I hope I'm wearing it correctly. Is this the first didactic use of the Rocky theme in the movie so far? Did I use that word correctly?
I think it's diegetic. Diegetic.
What the fuck is didactic?
It's a word. I know, I've heard that word as well.
Oh no! Didactic, intended to teach, particularly in having a moral instruction as an ulterior motive. Sam, was this the first time the Rocky theme has been used in a way that was intended to teach, perhaps in a way as to having, a moral instruction, almost as like an ulterior motive?
Yeah, it's one of those.
Separately, is it diegetically the first use of the music in Rocky, the franchise?
I can't remember from the last couple of films, but it happens a couple of times in this. You get musicians on screen playing the Rocky music, and you hear that music. The music is coming from what's on screen. It's not just music added in from, the music world that you can't... It's not actually happening in
It would be really funny, though, if one of the times where it's one of the real somber, blum, 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 I couldn't do this, agent. Yo, Paulie, stop playing that piano, man. Sorry, Rockla, just...
There is a bit later where Mickey's just like... Someone's playing it, and I think Mickey or Paulie or someone is just like, oh, Dad, shut up with that thing.
Yeah, no, it does happen. You're right, yeah.
So the marching band's playing the theme. Rocky has big statue unveiled. He's awkwardly working his way up to his retirement speech, and he says, this is really hard, I feel like a bum.
Sam, I've got to ask you this, because I know for a fact that this is your jam, right? Because I know you like when people try to make things and they do a bad job of it.
Oh, yeah.
Also, particularly when they try to save something and they end up making it worse.
Yes.
What are there any famous examples of, statues of famous figures that, catastrophically do not represent the subject matter in question?
I feel like there's loads, but there was... The one that sticks in my recent memory was there's a Cristiano Ronaldo one.
Yes!
Which is
It looks like a multi-pack of crisps. It's ridiculous.
Which is just rubbish. Yeah, I do love a wrong statue. I mean, making a statue is hard. I'm not saying it's easy to be a sculptor.
Yeah, you're talking to a couple of, would-be sculptors over here. We just have marble that's unfinished, cracked and strewn about the house. We took it all the way back from Italia. It didn't even work.
Getting a resemblance is hard, but when it goes horribly wrong, it is hilarious. Again, send in some wrong statues.
Yeah, absolutely no. Wrong statues, always very good. Yeah. I submit to you, Sam Chaplin, my OTP and co-host of cinemaswirl@gmail.com.
That's cinemaswirl.
And to the Cinema Swirl at large, I propose to you that I would enter the Rocky statue into the embarrassingly bad statue Hall of Fame because it looks nothing like him. It's like they reckoned, when he goes, he'll look like this because he'll get fucking pounded up into hamburger or like, we'll get Mickey Rourke his ass, like. But it looks like grand, and then he's like, yeah, thanks for this fucking statue me. This statue me, where my face looks like a literal metaphorical representation of famine, like fucking face like a coffin ship. Like,
I think maybe they just had like a statue of Boxer in the props department and thought, can we get away with just putting this in? If we don't cut to it enough times, we'll probably get away with it.
We've just got a statue resembling tragic male inadequacy. Can we just pop a pair of shorts on that? Yeah, because we have him with a tiny willy already, and I think it just wouldn't. Yeah, just pop them over on there. It's so bad. Did you know about the scandal about the not scandal, but the hubbub about the real-life Rocky statue in Philadelphia?
No.
So there was a real-life Rocky statue that was commissioned. It was commissioned by Sylvester Stallone commissioned the Rocky statue. That was good of him to do that.
I didn't know that. He just made that happen. He
commissioned 3 Rocky statues.
What?
He commissioned 3 Rocky statues. They wanted to have the Rocky statue outside the top of the Rocky Steps in Philadelphia, which is, as I believe, it's we talked about before, it's the Museum of Art or whatever it is at the top there. And that led to a big public debate in Philly about whether or not a statue of a fictional boxer was considered to be art or not, and is it in poor taste or, fucking bourgeois or whatever to have the statue outside of it. And it was there, and then it got moved outside the stadium, because I know every time they do wrestling from Philadelphia, they always show the shot of the Rocky statue outside the stadium. Right. I think it went back to the actual spot in front of the Rocky Steps. At another point, there was another statue that was then sent to some Museum Hall of Fame. But I was looking up about the third statue. They tried to sell it on eBay for like $4 million. And this is great. I was like on the Wikipedia page. On eBay, they tried to sell it on eBay, and it didn't get any bids for $4 million. And then the Wikipedia page is like, it was subsequently put up several more times without any bids.
Right.
The lowest of which was $1 million, and the bid for that turned out to be fraudulent, and then it was taken away. So there is a third Rocky statue in circulation. I don't know if Sylvester Stallone uses it to hang up damp washing on or something like that.
Well, that's great. I'm glad he's commissioned 3 and one of them is just not worth anything to anyone.
Like, if it's to excess and it's put up on eBay automatically relists and brings it down by a quid or whatever. Yeah. So if you or I want to maybe have a look up online, and we could house share it. You could spend Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in Nottingham, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in Salford, and then...
Well, by this point, it's probably like 200 quid. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah.
We can all muck in.
Stretch for that.
And then a reward tier on Patreon could be you can have a picture taken with the Rocky statue in either Nottingham or Salford.
Yeah, that'll be all right. I'd like that. At this unveiling, Clubber Lang shows up. Of course he does. And he challenges Rocky, who's in the middle of a retirement speech, to a fight. And he calls him a bum, which is... Rocky takes that bait. He was all right until it's like, you're a bum, mate.
Sure, this bum only here has only been fighting other bums, so he has. And now, you should be running scared now, so you should from old Clubber Lang now, boy, huh? And he's fired up, he is. He's berating him, Sam.
Yeah, and the last straw was Clubber's chatting up Adrian, which is just, that's not on, that. And Rocky really flips his lid there.
He basically has done every single bad guy wrestling promo from the late 90s, which is like, hey baby, why not come to my hotel room, show you what a real man looks like, huh? Why don't you come up here now, baby, come on, I'll show you a real man. The real men, apparently, always in search of proving their worth to women who do not know what an apparent real man looks like. Sylvester Stallone's not a real man, apparently.
It's a didactic thing. It's they're educating women about what a real man is, which is actually quite nice.
I think they may have a moral or ulterior motive.
No. It's not, Some people are just educators in their communities, Kevin. I don't think it's fair for you to label them.
And is that diegetic now? That because it was played on a radio then afterwards, and they're like, "Here's what Clubber Lang said earlier," and he's like, "Show you what a real man looks like," you know. And now Mick's retiring as well. Like, this is like announced. This is like proposing at someone else's wedding. You don't retire in someone else's retirement speech. Like,
yeah, he's out, and he wants answers. He wants to know why that's happening.
He's there. He wants to retire. Right. The fans have had an awful ordeal now because there's the big shouting match with Clubber Lang. And also he's there basically saying, "Hey Adrian, why don't you do a marry on me now? Come here now and we'll move into me flat together." And like, you gotta think and now Mick's retiring, you gotta think Rocky looking there now, that statue's ruined for him. It's just full of bad memories.
Yeah, you won't be able to plug that on eBay because it's been tarnished by all of those memories as well. I mean, that's probably why he's trying to get rid of it. Mickey's leaving because he knows that Rocky will lose.
Yeah, he said that Killer Lang will literally club him.
He's saying that Rocky hasn't been hungry enough, and Rocky's, well, I've been eating all these steaks and stuff. I've been eating stuff.
They were bums, Rock. They weren't steaks.
He's had hand-picked, easy title defences, which I guess that can happen in boxing. It's kind of just... I don't know how boxing works, the world of boxing.
The matches are set up, generally speaking, with the promoter and the manager. Yeah. And the promoter and the manager will... And I know that they have scouts and stuff like that as well, but I'm piecing this together mostly from Rocky movies and other boxing films that I have watched. As I don't care for boxing, but I love boxing films. Have you seen $1 Million Baby?
No.
Whoa. We could do a sad swirl, and that would be a great... Yay! So what they will do is they will chat amongst themselves, and they'll basically find someone where they think is like, right, this will either give us a fight that will get enough media attention or will on paper seem appealing enough. But they're not literally like, well, this person over here is like the best boxer, will be the hardest fight for the champion. That's not how they do it. It's not done in that way where it's like, well, this person has the biggest chance of actually beating them. So because if it was just the case that the promoter and the boxing commission did it, but as far as I know, in a lot of the matches, there is a lot of ebb and flow. There's a lot of influence from lots of different parties. And from what I've gathered from boxing movies, the world of boxing is incredibly corrupt at the best of times.
Oh, I can imagine.
So yeah, stuff like this. I think this is some soft corruption is what Mick is involved in here, Sam.
Right. Rocky's like, hey, come on, please train me one last time. And the way he gets him to agree is that if you don't agree to train me one more time, I'll tell everyone you haven't bought new underwear in 10 years.
That was a secret, Rocky.
That kind of scandal you don't want getting out. That's the sort of thing that'll make you train a boxer for one last fight.
Maybe he can incorporate his smelly old pants into making Rocky like train and stuff like that, you know? Like instead of having to catch a chicken, they put the smelly underpants on the chicken. You have to run away from him. Like, get away.
Yeah, no chickens in this film.
No chickens.
Very disappointing. Yeah, upset.
Maybe the chicken is Rocky Balboa ducking Clubber Lang. Cluck, cluck. All right? Sorry, did I say duck? No. I should have said cluck. As in cluck, cluck, because he's a chicken.
So,
now, Sam, we've talked about didactic and diegetic music, but what's the name for a music that literally explains what's happening in the movie through the lyrics?
Literal.
Yeah. Did you hear this great song here when they're training? Pushing, getting ready for the fight. Gonna do some boxing with Clubber Lang.
I find that a lot of like daytime like house selling programs do this sort of thing. If there's a bit where, I don't know, something's gone wrong with there's some rain or something and that's caused a setback, they'll play "Why Does It Always Rain on Me?" They'll just like, someone in the department that sorts the music will just Google the word rain and see what happens.
John's meant to be having his open house garden party to try and sell his 3-bedroom open plan cottage here in Bedfordshire. Yeah. But I bless the rains down in Africa. It's raining.
And I think this is what's happening. They've just Googled like music that says getting ready for a fight in it, and they put that in it, and it's worked. It does work.
This public training session, they're selling Rocky Robes. Rocky Roads. Ooh.
Oh, I love a bit of Rocky Road.
How can we train in this creep joint?
Yeah, he's renting like a flashy gym that is kind of like a tourist attraction. I'm not really sure what it is. It's like it's
a public sparring type of a thing.
Come look at Rocky do his training.
Yeah, it's the type of thing that the champ would do, public training thing. I know that like big football teams do that sometime as well, where they're like, you want to see how much soccer we're going to play this Sunday at the big fucking soccer match down the soccer stadium. You know, Manchester United, your soccer bites. It's bogus. When you get a face full of West Ham style soccer, you're gonna...
Rocky, he's getting complacent here because he's still being Rocky the celebrity. He's taking pictures, kissing girls.
Yeah, not like Clubber Lang, who's training in an uncleaned room.
Yeah, which means he's training harder.
Yeah, because he's hungry and he's smelly.
Yeah, they don't waste time cleaning the joint. They spend time training in the joint.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. And so this is the thing. There's a little band in the background playing Rocky's theme, and Mickey's like, change your tune. And it's all a bit meta and clever there. I'm like, because we've heard that, and it's the Rocky music.
They started doing Eye of the Tiger instead, and then Mick's like, now that's more my style, baby. Eye of the Tiger was nominated for Best Song, and it didn't win.
What won instead of that?
Love lifts us up where we belong.
Oh, did it really?
Where the air...
Okay.
That one, which in fairness, I wouldn't begrudge giving that a couple of Oscars, you know?
No, fair enough.
Best actor, cinematography, you know?
Makeup, probably. Rocky and Mickey have a little chat.
Funniest movie. Best kiss. Sorry, best snog. I know they renamed it, the Academy did in 93, didn't they? Best snog.
Yeah, best snog.
And then the right guard maximum protection slam of the week.
Rocky and Mickey, they have a bit of a chat about what they're going to do when this is all over. And Mickey's answer is great. I don't know, maybe join up with a circus.
Yeah.
Circus. I like circus. Circus. That's great.
Yeah, he just wants a big bag of peanuts, Sam. That's what he wants.
And Rocky, as they're leaving, hums a little bit of circus music. He does have a little bit of wit in him, does Rocky.
Yeah.
And it's quite sweet to see it come out. Yeah, he does have some funny lines.
It's just that in the previous Rocky movies, you know that he knows that about himself, and because he knows that, that's why he does things like read joke books or be like, let's tell some jokes, because that's how he thinks that if you have a wit, that you are to express it. It's not naturally through just saying a witty thing now and then. It's like, let's have some jokes.
It's joke time.
Is Rocky changed too much in this movie? Because in terms of personability, I think this movie relies very heavily on the fact that you've seen him in 1 and 2, and there's not a lot of time spent with Rocky being like, you know, you see him with his kid a little bit, and he's quite cute with his kid, Pinocchio, but is he less lovable in this movie?
A little bit. I think the idea here is that like he's become too big for his boots. He's become a celebrity, and he's got complacent, and he's not.
But he's
hungry.
not a dickhead though, or anything like that. Yeah.
No, that's the thing. So Sylvester doesn't fully sell that transition into. It's not outright being a dick. It's just being just forgetting that you're a boxer and you've really got to train very hard.
Yeah.
And it's not quite as exaggerated as it would be, I imagine, if some other actors were playing this or writing this or directing this.
Yeah.
So there's not that much of a character change for him. He's still the same guy, which is fine. And I was quite surprised. Like, it was fight time already in this film.
Yeah.
So it's time for the big Clubber Lang showdown. I thought, we normally spend all of our time building up to the fight. But now we've got a midpoint fight, which is interesting. So he's definitely going to lose.
So it is fight time, and Clubber Lang is berating the media, smashing up cameras, and joining us on commentary, the Master of Disaster and the King of Sting, Apollo.
Hey, he's back. It's nice to see Apollo Creed again. Clubber Lang talking to the press is like, I don't want to do no talking, I do my talking in the ring. Which is a shame, given how good at talking he is, that he would say that.
Yeah, it must be killing him, all this talking that he's having to do to explain how he doesn't want to talk like, you know.
But yeah, it's great to see Apollo back. That's nice.
Oh, Jesus, Mick's dying.
Yeah, Clubber's pushed him over. What a bloody bugger he is doing that. Booger Lang, I call him.
Booger Lang. I love this bit when Rocky's just freaking out and he's like, what am I doing? What do I do? What do I do? I don't want to do it. I don't want to do.
Yeah, Mickey's having a heart attack and dying, and Rocky, quite rightly, I'd say, wants to call the fight off.
What do I do, Adrian? What do I do? Diddly do. Doopy doo.
It's episode 52. Here we are. Adrian and Mickey stay in the dressing room. Rocky heads to the fight, but obviously his mind's going to be out of the game, Kevin.
I don't know. Paulie's psyching him up. He's like, you should kill him. You should. And that got my dander. I was like, yeah, go on.
Clubber's even being a dickhead to Apollo Creed. He's slagging him off as well. And what Apollo Creed says to Rocky is, give everyone a present and drop this chump. I love that. That's great. Give everyone a gift by knocking this guy down.
Come on, Rocky, if you take him out, this movie will be over in 25 minutes. We'll be able to make good time, like.
He's basically saying what Paulie's saying, but with a lot more finesse. Paulie just going for, just kill him. Just kill him, mate. Murder him. I'm Paulie. This ain't made of cardboard.
This is not a particularly great boxing outing for Rocky. Now,
No.
Clubber punches and bops the absolute shite out of him. But in my kind of boxing analysis here, and I don't know what you thought of this, Sam, but I really felt it was them slow motion punches really did him in.
And I was just wondering, like, is that even regulation? Like, I don't even think the Boxing Commission would allow a slow motion punch today. You know, knowing the damage that it would do and the concussion evidence that we have and whatnot afterwards, you know?
You would think, in terms of physics, the faster punches would hurt more, but it's actually the slow ones.
The power
that do
builds.
more damage
It builds.
over time, and
It does. It rips.
Really knackers him.
It does. It goes through it hard.
In my notes, I put that Rocky's getting punched to fuck here, and he goes down. That's basically what happens in this scene. He gets the upper hand early on, but he really gets properly punched. All of the boxing in the Rocky films, including this, is pretty convincing.
It's interesting you say that, because I was watching this movie, and I know we brought it up in a previous Rocky movie.
I mean, I don't watch boxing, so I don't know. I don't have much to compare it to, but it looks
The
pretty
sound effects I know we've brought up before, and I know obviously
They've improved a bit.
They have improved, but there is a little part of me when I was watching it that thinks,
You know, 30, 40 years' time, people are going to watch that with the same kind of giddiness of, like, seeing, you know, Old West where they, like, speed up the footage of a horse running or, like, you know, a wagon going out of control to make it seem more animated and things like that. There's an almost, like,
fever dream-like quality to all of the boxing sequences.
it sounds like a fucking cougar diving through a glass window. You know, whoa! What the fuck did you do? I punched him. What?
I thought it was quite good. I thought it was still pretty convincing, but I get what you're saying. It is still a bit kind of exaggerated, but a good use of music here. When Rocky gets knocked down, there's some weird, scary musical noise.
I get knocked down, but England.
No, that's the TV documentary, you know, daytime approach to it. If someone got knocked out, Alan has been knocked out. I get knocked out. But there's weird, scary, like, noises that aren't quite musical that make us feel, as the audience, that we've been knocked out too, and we're a bit dazed and we're confused.
I mean,
What's going on?
When Rocky goes,
Yeah, it's that.
and then the referee's like,
We've got a new champion of the world. It's Clubber Lang. He's very happy to be champion. He's doing a lot of shouting. It's like, I'm the best. I win. I'm the champion. And then he just starts going, "Ugh! Ugh!" Like it's just.
he ran out of phrases.
Yeah.
I think if you pull the string on the Clubber Lang doll 10 times, he starts going, "Grr, grr."
Now Mickey's still like, he's down and out. He's had his heart attack. He's on the way out.
Yeah, like when they had the 10 count overlapping with the CPR, like I really felt someone should have went and told the referee the direct impact that the count was having on the man dying backstage. Like, just wait
Just
a
stop
minute,
it.
all right? You're doing them all out of sync now. Hang on, you know?
It's really quite emotional here because Mickey asks for the result. Rocky tells him it was a second round knockout, and Mickey believes that Rocky won. It's like, we did it together. And Rocky, not realizing what's going on, he's like, no, we didn't do it. There's still loads of training we need to do. Come on, Mickey. Mickey says he loves him, and then he's gone. And honestly, it was quite hard to watch Rocky dealing with this. It's pretty good emotional acting from Sylvester Stallone here. That kind of gut base level dealing with grief immediately. He pulls off quite well, I thought.
And even though this Rocky 3, I mean, I don't know if you've kind of got at this point that like Rocky 3, and I was saying it takes a slight tonal shift, but this is definitely the movie's more veering towards, sports action than kind of maybe a drama that happens to fall upon the backdrop of sports, like the first Rocky did,
Sure.
kind of the second one did as well. But definitely that's like one of the saddest moments, I think, of the whole Rocky. It's the biggest emotional moment. Like Mick dying, nothing comes close to that, really, in terms of like a big impact. It did kind of spoil my enjoyment of the scene, though, because, Rocky tells that big dirty fib and then Mick passes away. But I came up with a tagline they could have used for like the Blu-ray release or something like this, Rocky 3, Lying and Dying, like, just as a kind of a bonus 2-disc edition you could do. One disc could be lying and one disc could be dying, like, the disc that's lying, it's Rocky going, yeah, we won, and then Mick going, come closer.
I think a lot of us have had to deal with grief at some point in our lives.
No, my boxing trainers never died. I didn't relate to this whatsoever.
But good for you. Now, when I'm dealing with that kind of emotion, what I do is I ride my motorcycle up to the big statue of myself and I throw my helmet at it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of... Don't take it out on the statue, mate, like,
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, I was saying how great the emotional acting was immediately in the aftermath, but to just ride up to a big statue and throw a helmet at it. And maybe it's supposed to mirror what Paulie does at the start, where he throws a beer bottle at the pinball machine. It's like, it's that same...
I thought he was going to climb up in the statue and try and, like, bite and break his thumbs. Like, you son of a bitch, you fool! What you mean when you die? They should have had the statue fight, I think, fight Clubber Lang instead, because he's got... I mean, the arms are obviously up, so he's obviously quite prone, to tickling and stuff like that. But I imagine with the gloves that would be a non-factor, as they say in the boxing business.
Now, if you remember... a long time ago when we did the bit before we watched the film.
Weeks ago,
I was talking about whether, maybe Apollo and Rocky are going to be mates or something here. And in the old gym, Rocky goes in and it's Apollo Creed here, offering to train Rocky. Here we fucking go. I got genuinely quite excited at this point. I was like, yeah, I'm so glad that this is narratively happening.
This is such a fucking dream, and it's like it's the baddie from the first two movies becoming goodie. Like that is I think the purest storytelling device ever. Baddie becomes goodie.
Yeah,
that is like it's so fucking great. It's the reason why it's the backbone of like every successful story like ever has got that in it. It's so fucking good. I love it.
Remember when Darth Vader trained Luke Skywalker to use his lightsaber at the end of the Star Wars? That was great, wasn't it? We had that big montage.
In fairness, though, that did still have a baddie becoming a goodie, like, and it was still, that's just really good. And I'll tell you what. Him in this movie in this capacity is great because Carl Weathers is all business and he is getting this shit over. He's like, Eye of the Tiger, Rock. Eye of the Tiger. Eye of the Tiger, Rock. You know what you need to have? You need to have the Eye of the Tiger. Let me play something for you. Dun, 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 dun. Listen to it, Rock, now. Listen to it. It's the Eye of the Tiger, Rock. It's the Eye of the Tiger. Sing it with me. Sing it with me. We gotta...
He's still doing do-do-do-do-do. Not quite getting with it. Clubber Lang's continuing to just slag everyone off on
hard
telly.
Words from a hard man.
Yeah.
Did you see that TV show, Ross Kemp's Hardest Words?
Ross Kemp on words. He just go up and...
One of the words kicked down a front door with a boat latch on it. It was fucking scary.
And he was visibly rattled at that point, so that's...
Sam, there's no right way or good time to bring this up, but I don't know if you know that Mr. T shared something in common with a lot of mid to high level English stand-up comedians in the year 2010 to 2013. Don't know if you knew what he shared with that group of people.
Himself, during that period of time, shared with mid-level stand-up comedians. I've got nothing.
He got his own web-exclusive BBC 3 comedy series.
Oh, it was either that or a Channel 4 blap, It's going to be one of those ones. Oh, good for him.
A blap? You mean like a real No, it's just a blap.
Online only, it's a blap.
And once anyone has seen it, it is removed from the internet forever. And then taken out to a big farmyard in Essex to be burnt.
No, one of those got commissioned into a full series. Which one? Probably one of them, I would imagine.
It would make sense that one of them would be.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no, I think it was called like Mr. T's Silliest Fills or something like that. He got 2 seasons he had out of it, and according to Wikipedia,
it was well received but not recommissioned.
Oh, well, good for Mr. T. I'm glad he's
Make
doing
of
well
that
for
what
himself.
you will. Make of that what you will.
So, Rocky, he's gone to Apollo's old gym.
Skid Row.
Yeah, which is...
There's all these bags everywhere, like, you know, there's just this valley of bags in Skid Row, like.
It's a bit dingy, it's very busy, but I tell you what, mate, it's hungry, all right?
Well, nothing gets me hungrier than a damp, smelly room, you know? That makes me fucking starving, it does.
Yeah, and Paulie, not content with being just a drunk dingus, starts to get, I think, quite racist here, but not...
Of course he is.
I mean, he says, I don't like these people, and the gym is entirely black people, and it doesn't sound great, but everyone just kind of, you know... It's like, oh, it's just Paulie. He's a bit of a dickhead.
It's just a racist. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, that's all. All he does is he throws a bottle at a pinball machine. He goes to prison. He has a little fight. He tries to get a job, and then he's racist for the rest of the film.
They were asked which racist they wanted on screen, and they're like, you can either have Paulie or you could have Hulk Hogan. And they say, well, at least Paulie is just playing a racist, so we'll have him as well, and you could leave the other lad away if that's all right. He's basically having here what they call grace training, so that Rocky can be more light in his feet, more feathery. Stallone lost a crazy amount of weight. I don't know if you noticed that he was like
A good deal smaller in this movie.
Trim.
He was very trim. He was like no body fat. He was like an absolute fucking machine.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that even though he has no body fat, he still swims like an overweight dog.
Yeah, he's not...
That's it, boy. Use the hunger to continue your advance.
Apollo's really trying hard to motivate Rocky, but I mean, when he's boxing training him, he's just basically punching the shit out of Rocky. Rocky's not doing it, and he's like, "Oh, let's do it tomorrow." And Apollo rightly says, "There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow." This is like me saying 5 more minutes when, you know, I don't want to wake up in the morning. There are no 5 more minutes. Work is now. You've got to go now.
I mean, him shouting "there is no tomorrow" for me would not motivate me. He's like, "Oh, really? All right, that's a load off my mind then."
Well,
So,
fuck this then. I don't have to do that boxing.
I'm going to have a wank. I'm off. Like, see you later. Like. Now, you know, training is stepping up, Sam, when the crop tops get busted out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Carl Weathers looks great in this crop top.
This is a look. This is a vibe. This is hot girl summer, pretty much. This is what it is. This is the epitome of it right here. These two guys, these two studs, prancing on the beach.
And they weren't doing it for the gram back in those days.
Absolutely
You
not.
didn't have the gram. They just loved running on the beach.
Hashtag just love running on a beach.
And I don't think I've ever run on a beach. Maybe as a child I've run on a beach. But walking on a beach is noticeably trickier than walking on flat ground. So
I've run on a beach, but only after once my brother said, "Look over here," and he threw sand into my eyes, into my
Right.
open eyes. And then I went.
it's a funny joke, to be fair.
It was very funny because what I didn't realise is that sand, they're actually tiny stones with broken bits of shell, and it was all over my eye. And then you tried to blink to make it stop, but blinking actually
That
causes
makes it worse.
It's
Yeah.
basically like rubbing sandpaper in your eyes. And I remember what I said,
He threw sand in my eyes, and I ran into the water to put salty water in my eyes to wash it away. So that was me running on the beach.
Did you feel like Rocky in this scene? You're like, you know...
I felt like a bum, Sam, if I'm honest. Like.
And Rocky's having all sorts of horrible flashbacks to Mickey's death and all this kind of thing, and we get the loud sound effects and music. He's having a hard time. He's really struggling.
He's not processed his grief. He's went too hard into his work after the big sad event has happened.
Yeah, and he can't get over that, and therefore he can't commit to Eye of the Tiger full-on fucking training.
He's like, "Oh, how about not Eye of the Tiger? How about like eyelash of the tiger? Just a little bit of tiger." Like, no, Rock, that's not... There's too many beats then. No.
There is no eyelash. There is no eyelash. Adrian, who, let's face it, up until this point, has not really had anything to do in this movie.
Sorry, Sam, did you not refer to my notes regarding her new hat in scene 1?
And she did hesitate to do the do-do-do-do-do. I mean, she did do a bit of that eventually. So she just had some stuff to do. She sees Rocky looking out of the waves, looking sad. And she does a full-on great monologue here.
The thing that Mick used to do.
Yeah.
She breaks him down and lets him build himself back up again.
Yeah, I mean, this is because Rocky doesn't think his title reign was real, and Mickey gave him soft opponents. He's all upset about Mickey. And he admits that he's afraid.
I'm
which is good.
afraid. I'm afraid.
He is afraid. And when all the smoke is cleared and everyone's done chanting your name, it's just going to be us. And that's a nice little thing. And that can mean all sorts of things. Apollo thinks you can do it, so do I. But you've got to do it for the right reasons. Not for guilt, not for money, just for you, mate. Great stuff from Adrian here, who really gives it her all in this scene.
It's probably like her best bit in all. I mean, again, this is another thing. I feel like I may have like internally labeled this movie as like a less serious, or the start of the less serious turn for Rocky movies or whatever.
Yeah.
But we've had probably the saddest
moment in the franchise, and then like this is definitely Adrian's like biggest moment, because she never really has a big fucking like, come on, like nothing like this. How did you get so tough? I live with a fighter.
Very cute. Very, very cute. That's nice. So at that point, it's Adrian who convinces him to get his head in the fucking game. I, the tiger, baby. Fucking just
She literally invokes the montage, Sam. That's how powerful the speech was.
She gives him an eye of a tiger, and he takes it and he runs with it.
Here is a selection of highlights from the montage.
Sure.
Crop tops, beach run, ball bops, skipping, swimming, faster skipping, faster swimming, ducking, hugs.
It's really nice to see those lads getting on so well and having a big hug in the sea.
Sam.
Love that.
Where's the closest beach to us? Because I feel like we've always been landlocked. I'd like to do a Cinema Swirl promo shoot where we run on the beach and
have a hug in the sea. It'll be very cold given where we are in the
we
world.
could go to Scunthorpe or something like that. Like
go to Skegness. Like, that'd be great. My spiritual home, seaside Skegness.
I didn't realize that the Rocky music had a fucking sick solo. That's what this montage just taught me. Yeah.
It's such a fucking sassy number, this one. It's basically like the Rocky theme saw Eye of the Tiger strutting around, and then it's like,
I've got to step up my game here.
I was still a little bit of gas left in the tank here. Excuse me, hold my saxophone.
It's as if those two musical cues are having a little fight, They're building up to their big rematch.
And that big rematch is happening in Madison Square Garden, or MSG as it's also known.
Have you got any predictions for tonight's match? The big boxing you and Mr. T, Clubber Lang versus Rocky Balboa?
Pain.
That's his prediction. Pain.
And then at that moment, everyone's like, "Oh shit!
They're hitting each other for real! Like
they're going to get hurt."
Everyone's returning their money at returning their tickets at the box office.
Mr. T does actually say, "I pity the fool" at one point in this, which is great because that's what I associate with Mr. T. That line has that come up in other things again and again and again. He's taken that.
That's his.
That's his
pretty
thing.
sure he has that, sewn up with a series of... He's got some copyright on that for sure,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that the font that Rocky has on his robe is the funnest font we've seen in the Rocky movies so far.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, it's no Jokerman, which is just obviously a gag of letter, but it's still quite fun.
Oh, hey, symbolic moment here. Apollo gives him the America trousers, the short trousers.
The very trousers that he wore when they first had a box.
Yeah, and he's kept mentioning, like, oh, when this is all over, you'll do that favour for me, right? And I'm like, what favour? I don't know, you didn't tell me about a favour. But it just keeps coming up, like, what's that going to be? What's that
your
about?
Organs, Rocky. I want them.
I want you to wash those shorts again, please, because I don't want to have them back all covered in Rocky sweat.
They're your problem now. I love that Mr. T keeps screaming
that Rocky should have never came back. There's something about that phrase. He says it over and over again. You should have never came back. Never came back. I fucking love these two shouting at each other throughout this match. This is probably... I don't know. This is probably my favourite Rocky fight in the Rocky movies. This one here. Because I love that it's the first time where you see that he's trying to do something completely different. He's fighting the same opponent twice in one movie, and he's fighting him very differently. And this time he's trying to be super light. He's trying to let him tire himself out. And again, that's just like in The Simpsons. That's how Homer always won, by the people letting them tire themselves out. And I think that's another bit that's obviously been informed of that episode from here.
And Rocky, I mean, he's got a bit of his swagger back. Or maybe that swagger was never there, because he's doing a bit of taunting, a bit of riling him up. And this,
You ain't so bad. You ain't so bad. You ain't so bad.
Club Lang quite cutely says, I'm going to bust you up. And he's like, go for it.
Hit me right here. You ain't so bad. You ain't so bad. And Mr. T's like, I'm terrible. Stop. I am. I'm very bad. You ain't so bad.
The shots of these two circling each other are great, where, the camera's following them around. That's good. The fight looks authentic. Rocky's got the fucking eye of the tiger in his eyes. You can see it.
And he's got the cream of the fight as well.
Yeah, he has. He's the tiger who got the cream.
The tiger who came to cream.
He's the tiger who came to cream. Yeah, I mean, this is just a really fun fight. It's hard to kind of like chat about this and analyse it too much. It's just a good, pretty convincing, fun fight. Rocky has a strategy. The strategy pays off. The music's great. Rocky knocks Clubber Lang the fuck down. He clubs him down. And he's done it. And he's back on top. Maybe the result was kind of predictable in that Rocky loses a boxing match in the middle.
Yeah.
And then...
And you're in 90 minutes, like, you know where this is all... Like, it is very much... a very neat little package compared to the other, because I mean, Rocky 2 is so much of it is like an epilogue to the first one,
Yeah.
And Rocky 1, it doesn't it has a happy ending that is also happy for different reasons to why it should be a happy ending in a sports movie where you win. Whereas this is very much just more formulaic, like, he's the hero, he has a fall from grace, he meets adversity, he overcomes it, he wins! Yay!
Yeah. Oh, and Kevin, what was that favour that Apollo was asking for?
He wanted to go in and have one more round with Rocky Balboa. Hang on a minute, and I'll ring my special friendship bell.
It's a private rematch.
Private rematch with a special private bell. Ding, ding.
What was the expanded Blu-ray version of this film that you were talking about earlier, Kevin, that you wanted to put out there? What was it called again?
That was the Lion and Dying version.
Lion and Dying. And Rocky says, didn't you say that when I beat you, you learned to live with it? Apollo says, I lied.
Oh, no, that means there's more lies than dies. Someone else died on this movie we didn't know, like.
You fight great, but I'm a great fighter. Another cute line. This is very sweet. They're about to come to blows. Freeze frame. The freeze frames in these films are always quite bad
they're
in
very
terms of where they actually
jarring,
stop. And then we're out. That's Rocky 3. All done and dusted. That was a blast.
It's appropriate that we're now here on a Sunday afternoon, because that very much feels like a Sunday afternoon movie. Maybe that was fate telling us that we had to speak about this movie at a more
wouldn't let us record earlier.
It simply would not.
No.
Did you enjoy yourself with Rocky 3?
Yes, yes, I did. I liked the film. It was good. Yeah. Rocky 3. It was
Sam,
good.
Did you like it more, less, same as the previous installments of the Rocky franchise?
I don't feel like this was a step down in any way. I think... I see your point about how this is transitioning towards just being...
Big
here's the
boxing.
Here's the big boxing that you're like... Forget all this drama stuff. And there was less of things going on in Rocky's life that weren't immediately connected to boxing. It was all boxing. Even Mickey dying was boxing. It's a big boxing movie. There's lots of... I feel boxed in by all this boxing, but I still had a blast. I had a really good time. That doesn't mean it's not fun. If it's not as much of a compelling Oscar-worthy drama, it's still a fun time.
It is an absolute hoot and a holler.
Mr. T as Clubber Lang is like just one of the greatest villains in cinema. He's so fucking good.
Fab, worth the price of admission just for Mr. T having a big shout.
Was there anything about this movie that you didn't like as much? Was there any way it was less of? I mean, I know you did mention that there's probably less of the dramatic elements, or I guess less of a overarching narrative for all the characters and whatnot, but did you still, how did you find that comparatively?
I guess the thing I said about Rocky's character sort of seeming to have some character development, you imagine that's the idea, but it's not really sold to you. The build-up of him becoming the best in the world, kind of getting complacent, he doesn't fully become a dickhead. Maybe that's good, because you don't want to not sympathise with him. I don't know. There's nothing I can disagree with here. Adrian gets a big scene. I mean, if that scene hadn't been in there, I'd be like, Adrian had fuck all to do, but she did have something to do. She did really have something good to do there. Paulie's still a dick, but that's consistent at the very least.
Rocky without Mick, though, this is what I want to ask you. Now, obviously, we're changing up some of the big pieces of the Rocky franchise. At the end of this movie, are you kind of like, I see this Rocky universe and I want to see lots more adventures in it? I mean, does this seem like there's fertile ground at this point where we are now in the Rocky saga? Because I feel like we're going to be finishing this in. It may not all be on this series, but we will be finishing this by hook or by crook. Like,
look, I love Mickey. He was great. I've seen wrestlers that was bigger than dinosaurs. That's a great line. But I really love the dynamic between Apollo Creed and Rocky as friends, as training buddies. I thought they had great chemistry together. I don't know whether that's explored in future films again, whether that comes back, whether they continue that relationship. I mean, I'd imagine at this point the sensible thing for Rocky to do would be to retire. He probably won't, though. He's getting on a bit as well, isn't he? Apollo's saying, like, oh, we're old now. And I guess he's like in his 30s in this
well,
film,
boxing
Rocky.
is known for people to have very long, fruitful careers and then long, fruitful retirements afterwards. So, that's...
So I don't know where it's going to go, but it'll be tough without Mickey. But if Apollo's there for the ride, then I'm happy. Because that was a great pairing, those two. Not just as rivals, but as friends.
Boy,
as
I'm
mates.
so glad you enjoy it. I figured you would enjoy that because I think Apollo is like low-key... like one of the best things about the first two movies, and I love to get to see him in this new role. Like you just once you get used to a character being a little bit of a dick, but he's obviously got charisma, and you want to see those characters then be on the side of the protagonist.
It's inevitable to happen when a franchise runs as long as this.
I mean, he came back in a cameo role on commentary, and I thought maybe that was going to be it. I'm glad it wasn't. It's like, oh, Apollo Creed's here on commentary. I thought, have we just got him on commentary? No, he's a significant part of the movie. Great stuff.
It seems like you've had a very good time by accounts, and little to nothing in the negative column of this abacus of film reviews of you watching this. So, Sam, I got to ask you, what is your rating for Rocky 3?
I would give this nice film 4-star wipes.
You heard it here, first on the swirl.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Cinema Swirl. This episode was produced by Kevin, edited by me, Sam, and the music was also by me. If you'd like to support the show directly, patreon.com/cinemaswirl is the way to go. If you'd like to follow us on Twitter, that's @cinemaswirl. If you want to join us on Facebook, where the votes for episodes take place, that's facebook.com/cinemaswirl. And if you've got any questions, queries, comments, or other stuff, send them on over to cinemaswirl@gmail.com. That's cinemaswirl@gmail.com. If there's someone in your life who you think would enjoy Cinema Swirl, then why not recommend it to them? Otherwise, leave a review on whichever podcast thing you use, or just keep listening. That's much appreciated, so thank you. Alright, see you next time. Bye.